If you're a fan of Resident Evil, survival horror, or just grew up playing games back in the 90s, you've likely heard that voice say that iconic line. Welcome back, everyone. To those that are new, I am the Pumpkin Teller. I share my thoughts and opinions on the horror genre, as well as sharing stories that I have written. Today, we're going to focus on a franchise that I loved ever since I was a little kid. More specifically, I'm going to be focusing on a certain bioweapon from the Resident Evil games. Nemesis. So please, make yourself comfortable, grab your favorite snack, and let's get spooky. I assume that if you clicked on this video, you're already familiar with the franchise, but in case you aren't, I'll do a quick explanation. Resident Evil is a survival horror game that often focuses on one or more survivors trying to fight their way through various nightmares and solve complex puzzles. The kind of enemies that you'll fight in these games are zombies, either undead or through a parasite, experiments gone wrong, or, like today's subject, a biological weapon that's designed to end whoever it's programmed to hunt. It's a very popular series, spawning movies, both live action and animated, books, comics, spin-offs, toys, and all sorts of merchandise. I would highly recommend playing the original trilogy, as there's just something more intense about the older ones. The way the camera and controls work add to the fear factor, I think. And out of the original trilogy, there's one enemy that truly puts the horror in survival horror. There are only a few times in gaming where I replay a horror game and it can still get me to panic. Resident Evil 3 is one such game. Even though I roughly know when Nemesis is going to show up, I still find it terrifying being hunted by him. But who, or rather what, is Nemesis? Nemesis is what's known as a BOW, bioorganic weapon. He's specifically designed to find and destroy the surviving members of STARS, STARS being an acronym for Special Tactics and Rescue Squad. His attacks range from using brute force to a missile launcher to parasitic tentacles. He will hunt the player relentlessly throughout the game until he finally meets his end in the Dead Factory. He's a hulking figure that wears a black trench coat, and his face is deformed with one side being stapled. The lack of lips that expose his gums and teeth make any expression he sports absolutely terrifying. Later in the game, he begins to have these weird tentacles protrude from his body and arm. The weight of this enemy is definitely felt, not only when he makes contact with you, but even when he's moving around. His boots slam on the ground when he pursues you, creating an opposing thud as he closes the distance. His vocals are just as intimidating as the rest of him. While he mainly roars and grunts, he does speak one singular word. His voice is deep and guttural, and the fact that he speaks shows that he has more intelligence than the previous enemies we fought in the other games. Speaking of being different, Nemesis does something that we haven't experienced in the RE games before. He can follow you through different areas. Typically in Resident Evil games, if you enter a room that has a lot of enemies in it and you aren't able to fight them, you just have to get to the other door and the zombies and experiments won't be able to follow you. Not Nemesis, however. The second the camera angle changes to where you can't see the door, you hear it slam open and you hear him sprinting towards you. He'll follow you through several areas until he finally gives up on the chase. Now the first time this happens, it's genuinely terrifying. And even when you know it's going to happen, it still finds a way to scare you. In the parts when he's not around, you're still on edge because you don't know when he'll show up, other than the actual scripted parts. Fighting him is also a huge challenge. Not only does he look threatening, but he has the power to back it up as well. Now, I play this on hard, which in my opinion is the best way to play this game, and I couldn't bring myself to fight him. He does drop special items though that will buff your weapon in some way, but for me, I panicked the second he sprinted at me and only fought him during the mandatory boss fights. So now that we know who Nemesis is, let's take a look at him in action. You play as Jill Valentine, a STARS member who is one of several survivors of the mansion incident in the first game. Her goal in this one is to find a way to escape the city. Early on in the game, you encounter another STARS member, Brad. He was a character in the first game, being the one who flies in and saves you at the end. You see that he's wounded badly and seems to be extremely stressed and scared. He warns you,
"Listen, he's coming for us. We're both gonna die."
What are you saying?
"You'll see. He's after STARS members. There's no escape."
And with that warning, you make your way to the Raccoon City police station. You fight your standard zombies and zombie dogs, but once you get to the station, we are finally introduced to the main antagonist.
Jill!
Brad!
We've gotta... Jill! Help!
No! Brad?
This part instantly shows just how much of a threat this new enemy is. You flee inside the station and seemingly escape him. You finally get what you needed from the station and begin to make your way towards the exit, when suddenly, this happens. It's here that we see that he's able to follow you through different rooms and areas. Once you leave the station, a big portion of the game will take place in Raccoon City itself. During these city sections, you'll run into Nemesis several times. Some are scripted cutscenes where you just make a choice, but other times you have to either fight or avoid him as he chases you through the streets and alleyways. Oh, and I should also mention that if you do choose to fight him, he can sometimes dodge your shots, so just be aware of that fact. The cool part about this game is that there are brief choices that show up, and depending on what you choose or where you go first, you'll get a different Nemesis encounter. If you aren't aware of this fact and decide to play again, you'll be in for a nice surprise. Parts where you expected to find him, he won't be there, and parts where he wasn't there before, he will be now. It really adds to the replayability of the game. Continuing with the story, you'll ride a cable car to reach the city's clock tower. There, you'll ring the bell and it will signal to a helicopter that there are survivors in there and they need to be evacuated. Once you get moving, Nemesis attacks the car, and by the end of it, he gets blown up, along with the car itself. The explosion causes the car to crash at the clock tower, and you fight against undead and other creatures once inside. Side note, I just need to say this about the Resident Evil 2 remake. But where are the giant spiders? Just imagine how insanely creepy it would be to see one of these with these graphics. After completing some puzzles, you reach the top and you're once again ambushed by Nemesis. And once again, you must make a choice. For this particular playthrough, I chose to blind him with the light, which causes him to fall off the tower. You get the final piece needed to activate the bell, and you do so. After all your hard work finding the creatures in the city and inside the tower, you finally see it. The helicopter here to get you and the other survivors out of the city. As you get outside, Jill says exactly what you're feeling in this moment.
We're saved. Down here! It's finally over. Huh? No!
Robbing you of your only escape, he jumps down and you engage in a fight with him. Now, because of my choices, Carlos, another survivor that helps you throughout the game, comes in and fires at Nemesis, destroying his missile launcher.
Jill! That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
After a difficult fight, you're able to defeat Nemesis, but not before he infects you with the virus. You see him stumble into a nearby fire while you pass out from your wound. This next section you'll play as Carlos as he tries to find a vaccine for Jill. Now I won't spend too much time here as the purpose of this video is to focus solely on Nemesis. Carlos is successful in finding a vaccine and he begins to make his way back to Jill. He's stopped just before reaching her by Nemesis, who turned out survived the battle, but is now looking a little different. You quickly evade him and you reach Jill, thus switching control back to her. Escaping the clock tower, you have a brief run-in with Nemesis, and he doesn't appear again until you get to this bridge. In this playthrough, I chose to jump off the bridge, avoiding him once again, thus entering the final stage, the Dead Factory. It's here that you seemingly have a final fight with Nemesis. Here you can either shoot him until he's defeated using a ton of your ammo, or, if you're skilled enough, can lead him to one of the several acid-filled pipes, shooting it and causing the acid to spray out. I say skilled enough because Nemesis knows when the acid's about to start pouring out, and he'll actively back away from the pipes. If you take a while to put him down, you could actually cause body parts to fall off him, even his head. He still manages to fight you until finally you deal enough damage and he falls to the ground. Leaving the boss arena, the floor gives out, pouring the room's contents as well as Nemesis into a pool of disgusting liquid. fun little detail that I noticed, and I think is related, is when you walk past a railing and look down, you can see bubbles forming in the water. I like to think that this is Nemesis, and the game is hinting that he's still not done yet. The game begins to wrap up as a nuclear missile is heading towards the city, and you desperately try to reach someone over the radio while also figuring out how to get out of the factory for the chopper to pick you up. You reach the lower levels and find a massive railgun-like device. When you activate the power, something falls from the ceiling. Nemesis is back for one final showdown. He transforms into a grotesque monstrosity that uses both tentacles and acidic-like bile to attack. You use the arena to lure Nemesis into the path of the railgun until enough damage is dealt. Once he's defeated, he slowly begins to shrivel up and you have one final option. Either evacuate the facility or finish the creature for good. At this point in the game, after all the stress and panic he's caused, I chose to pump him with magnum rounds, killing him for good.
Stars, I'll give you stars.
Both you and Carlos escape in a chopper that arrives at the last minute. The chopper is piloted by Barry, another STARS member that was also in the first game. You all fly away as Raccoon City, as well as all the nightmares that reside within, are destroyed by the missile.
It's coming!
Yeah. It's the end.
Even as an adult who's played countless horror games and seen plenty of horror movies, I can honestly say that whenever Nemesis suddenly appeared, I would actually yell and begin to freak out, forgetting the controls and allowing Nemesis to pop off with his attacks. There were plenty of moments like that with other enemies too, but Nemesis was definitely the most effective. Something really cool about playing hard mode is that whenever I died, certain enemies and items were moved around or just switched out. This made preparing for Nemesis encounters really tough, as one run, I'd find a good amount of ammo, but if I died and didn't save, all that ammo would not spawn where it did last time. Like I said, hard mode is definitely the way to go. But why do I consider him to be the scariest Resident Evil enemy? In Resident Evil 1, there isn't really anything that actually stalks you through the whole game, so I'll instead compare Nemesis to a moment in the game. In the mansion early on, you walk down a hallway and several zombie dogs come bursting through the windows, creating panic and fear as you quickly try to fight back or flee. For me, the same feeling occurs whenever Nemesis shows up when it's not a scripted scene. Resident Evil 2 has enemies more comparable to Nemesis. Depending on who you play as, you'll get a different boss enemy. For example, in Leon's game, you get William Birkin. He appears several times throughout, changing his form each time. He is a terrifying enemy to fight, but the difference is that each encounter is a boss fight. You have to fight him. The game forces you to confront your fears and defeat the monster. However, in Claire's game, you face off against Mr. X, a tyrant. He serves as a pre-Nemesis, doing many things that would later be added to Nemesis's character. He slowly walks towards you, and if he gets too close, he hits hard. Unlike William, Mr. X shows up in areas that you're able to run past him, and the scares come from the fact that you don't know which area he'll be at. In the remake, Mr. X chases you down. It really makes you wonder what Nemesis could have looked like in a remake setting like this. It's really too bad that we never got a Resident Evil 3 remake. A huge shame indeed. I would say Mr. X comes second to another Resident Evil villain that tries to capture the fear of Nemesis, but Mr. X just lacks the variety in attacks, and just the simple fact that Nemesis will full-on sprint at you at random times gives him the edge. Resident Evil 4 doesn't really have something like Nemesis, but instead has several isolated bosses that simulate that Nemesis vibe. The village chief, Salazar's right hand, and the Regenerators. All of these guys are responsible for some of the best scares in the game, and funny enough, they all have attributes seen in Nemesis. The chief hitting that large, intimidating presence. The right hand having that sudden sprint, as well as being able to take a lot of damage. And the Regenerators causing players to panic when they close the distance. While all great, there's no enemy that has it all, except for maybe the right hand, as that fight is really effective. Now, Resident Evil 5 and 6 were more action-focused, and while they do have some good moments, I don't think it'd be worth it to include them here for this particular discussion. Resident Evil 7, however, probably gets the closest with Jack Baker.
You're wasting your time!
He'll chase you through several parts of the game, and the way he shows the player that he can regenerate via the mold makes him a terrifying opponent.
Do I have your attention, boy? You're about to see something wonderful. Oh, fuck!
And because Resident Evil 7 completely reworked on how these games are played, it includes a stealth mechanic which creates major tension as you sneak around trying to avoid him. The only thing that makes him fall just short of Nemesis is his appearance. Jack is scary, but he also just looks like a normal human for the most part. For me, Nemesis just has a more imposing look. So while Jack wins in the building tension department, thanks to being able to sneak around him while he hunts you, overall, Nemesis wins. In Resident Evil 8, we have Lady Dimitrescu.
You are so kind to me, daughters. Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters.
I hope I'm saying that right. Her downfall, through no fault of her own mind you, is that she's limited to her castle, and you defeat her before progressing. It also doesn't help that the look and design of her makes her look visually appealing, and of course, thanks to the internet, any potential horror that could have come from her was ruined by all the memes. She still gets some good scares in.
Like I'd let you get away. You'll be sliced to ribbons.
But not enough to put her at the same level as the rest of the bosses I mentioned previously. With Resident Evil 9 right around the corner, I'm hoping to see if any of the bosses will accomplish what Nemesis did. Personally, I'm just really excited to see what RE9 brings in general. So, that wraps up what I think of Nemesis, and why I think he's the scariest Resident Evil villain. With nothing else to discuss, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and...
No, 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 no! Wait!
I mean, what can be said about the Resident Evil 3 remake that hasn't already been said? I really enjoyed it when it first came out, but as time went on, I began to really think about it, and I gotta say, it was a huge disappointment for me. So much cut content, and I find it truly baffling as to why. It's not like they replaced it with anything, stuff is just gone. No clock tower, no meaningful exploration of Raccoon City, no giant worm, no Raccoon Park, no dead factory, no giant spiders. Give me my giant spiders, please!
What's going on? Whoa! Oh my. What is that?
The biggest disappointment, however, comes from Nemesis. It's as if they deliberately tried to speedrun all the things that made him terrifying just so they could quickly mutate him into this weird dog form. Like, what is this? I truly think, too, that they completely fumbled the way that he was introduced. He just shows up, and it's a bunch of cinematics with brief running segments. No build-up, just, here you go.
Hello?
Jill, are you okay?
Brad, is that you?
Listen, you gotta get out of there.
What are you talking about?
I don't have time to explain. You gotta get out of there right now.
All right, let me grab my...
I should also mention that things that happened throughout the original game all happened within like the first 20 minutes. The game just moves way too fast for me. I'll also add that the new Nemesis design just isn't it for me. His trench coat is replaced with something that looks too similar to a trash bag, and his face just looks off to me. I really hate the nose placement. I really do. What's sad is that there are times in the game where it does feel like that classic Resident Evil 3 experience. The short segments in the city where he's hunting you is by far the best part of the game in my opinion.
Come on, you creepy ass stalker. You want stars? I'll give you.
The amount of times you fight him in his normal form is way less than the original for some reason. They chose to turn him into this weird dog form less than halfway through. Are the fights in this new form at least terrifying? To me, not really. They basically boil down to gimmick fights, and the fear aspect comes from not having enough rounds to use while he's running in circles.
Like some kind of animal.
I'm gonna kill you.
It's sad that Mr. X from Resident Evil 2 is more like Nemesis than the remake Nemesis is. It just sucks because we could have gotten something really great. We could have gotten one of the most terrifying Resident Evil games, but for whatever reason, they rushed this out regardless of the quality. The quality of this game has me and many other fans wishing they would remake Resident Evil 3 and do it properly this time. I even hoped that they would have done an update that would have added the missing content in. Sadly, it remains as the poorly done black sheep of the new remakes. Thankfully, we still have ways to play the originals. And that's where I'll end this video, ending it with the knowledge that we can still play and enjoy the original games. Resident Evil holds a very special place in my heart, as it was not only one of the first horror games I played, but the first ever games I played. I grew up with the PlayStation and would always watch my dad play these games until finally I was allowed to try them for myself. Resident Evil 3, hands down, is my favorite, as it adds so many fun gameplay mechanics and has one of my most favorite video game horror mascots, Nemesis. It's just a shame he didn't get the respect he deserved in this remake. Here's hoping that Resident Evil 9 gives us something truly horrifying. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like would be so greatly appreciated. And by all means, leave a comment telling me what your favorite Resident Evil enemy is. And if you really enjoyed what you saw here, consider sticking around and subbing. I'll be doing more content like this going forward. Again, thank you all for joining me. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, stay spooky.